What if intuition is not mystical at all, but a human sense we've forgotten how to use? We live in an age that prizes logic, analysis, and data. Decisions are supposed to be justified by evidence, numbers, and proof. And yet, there are moments when we just know. We sense the right choice before we can explain it. We feel someone's intentions before they speak. We glimpse an insight whole, without needing to reason step by step. We often dismiss this as irrational. But what if intuition is not superstition, but perception, as real and vital as sight or hearing? Two traditions from opposite sides of the world speak to this possibility. In ancient Greece, philosophers like Plato and Plotinus described nous, a form of direct knowing, higher than reason. It was not discursive thought, but immediate apprehension of truth. In Hawaii, indigenous knowledge systems preserved ways of perceiving the world beyond logic, from navigation guided by stars and swells to naʻau knowing, wisdom felt in the gut. Separated by oceans and centuries, both traditions affirm that humans have a capacity to perceive reality directly, beyond rational calculation. Intuition, in this view, is not mystical ornament. It is a forgotten sense. Today, we'll investigate these perspectives in depth. We'll step into the dialogues of Greek philosophers who spoke of nous as the eye of the soul. Then we'll sail with Hawaiian navigators who read waves and winds with a bodily wisdom beyond books. Two paths, one recognition that intuition may be a fundamental human sense, waiting to be remembered. The Emerald Codex method is to go deep with two traditions, respecting their uniqueness while listening for universal patterns. Here, our primary investigation will be ancient Greece. Welcome to the Emerald Codex. If you want more deep investigations into ancient wisdom and hidden knowledge, subscribe. Thanks for supporting this work. We'll explore how philosophers distinguished between rational thought and nous, the faculty of direct knowing. Nous was not imagination or conjecture, but perception of truth itself. Our complementary tradition will be Hawaiian ways of knowing, especially in navigation and community practice. Hawaiian culture preserved forms of intuitive perception deeply connected to land, sea, and relationships. For Hawaiians, knowledge was not abstract, but embodied, often carried in the gut, the naʻau, and tested in the living rhythms of nature. By bringing Greece and Hawaii together, we will not flatten them into one story. Instead, we will explore how both recognize intuition as a sense, not mystical, but natural. And in listening to both, we may remember a capacity we still carry. Greek philosophy flourished between the 6th century BCE and the late Roman period. In this world of debate, logic, and inquiry, philosophers also spoke of a higher faculty, nous. For Plato, nous was the part of the soul that could perceive eternal forms, realities beyond sensory experience. For Aristotle, nous apprehended first principles directly, without inference. For Plotinus and the Neoplatonists, nous was the divine intellect, the realm of pure truth in which the soul could participate. In a culture that gave us rational argument and scientific beginnings, nous stood as a reminder that reason was not the highest human faculty. There was something beyond, immediate, luminous, undeniable. Plato described nous as the eye of the soul. Just as the physical eye sees colors and shapes, Nous perceives truth and essence. It does not reason step by step, but apprehends directly. For example, when we grasp the concept of justice itself, not this or that law, but the very idea of justice, Plato argued that nous is at work. Aristotle distinguished nous from dianoia, or discursive thought. Logic builds arguments, but nous sees axioms immediately. You do not prove that contradiction is impossible. You simply know it. This immediate recognition is nous. For Plotinus, nous was not only a human faculty, but a cosmic principle. He described the nous as the divine intellect, the second hypostasis after the one. Human beings, by turning inward, could participate in this nous, experiencing unity with eternal truth. Across these thinkers, the core recognition remains. Nous is a direct mode of knowing, more immediate than reason, closer than belief. It is the perception of truth as such. How did the Greeks cultivate nous? Through philosophy as spiritual practice. Plato used dialectic, dialogue, not only to reason, but to awaken the intuitive eye of the soul. By questioning, stripping away assumptions, and aiming toward higher realities, dialogue prepared the mind for direct apprehension. For Aristotle, training in logic prepared the intellect, but the final grasp of principles came through nous. Education honed reason, but insight was ultimately intuitive. Plotinus described contemplation as the method, turning away from sensory distractions, quieting discursive thought, and allowing nous to shine forth. This was not imagination, but vision of truth. Plotinus compared it to a sudden flash of light, a recognition beyond argument. In practical terms, this meant that philosophy was not just abstract thought. It was training to perceive reality directly. Students of philosophy were not only learning arguments, but cultivating an inner eye. This inner perception was considered more reliable than sensory perception, because it grasped what is eternal rather than what changes. Nous shaped Greek culture beyond philosophy. In politics, appeals to universal justice reflected the conviction that truth could be apprehended. In art, ideals of beauty reflected the perception of eternal forms. In mystery religions, intuitive vision was cultivated through initiation. Even in science, the search for underlying principles echoed the conviction that reality could be directly known. Nous also connected Greece to later traditions. Early Christian thinkers adopted the concept, identifying nous with the spiritual mind capable of perceiving God. Medieval mystics spoke of intellectual vision as a path to union with the divine. The Greek legacy of nous thus spread far beyond Athens and Alexandria. In a world that prizes data, nous reminds us that some truths are not derived but seen. Moral truths, mathematical axioms, sudden insights. These moments show nous still active. Intuition is not opposed to reason, but completes it, offering direct vision where reasoning alone cannot reach. Across the ocean, Hawaiian culture preserved ways of knowing rooted in land, sea, and relationship. Knowledge was not abstract, but embodied, communal, and lived. Intuition was not a mystical exception, but an everyday necessity. Navigators, healers, and elders cultivated perception that went beyond logic. This was often described as naʻau knowing, wisdom felt in the gut. Hawaiian navigation offers a vivid example. Without compasses, Polynesian voyagers crossed vast oceans by reading stars, swells, bird flight, and cloud formations. But beyond these visible cues, navigators often spoke of a deeper sense, feeling the motion of waves through the body, sensing direction through attunement rather than calculation. This embodied knowing was intuition in practice, trained, refined, but immediate. Healing practices also relied on intuitive knowledge. Elders perceived imbalance not only through observation, but through felt sense. Rituals like Ho'oponopono emphasized alignment of relationships, requiring intuitive sensitivity to emotional and spiritual states. In all this, intuition was not opposed to reason. It was another layer of perception, integrated with practical skill and observation. Placed beside Greek nous, Hawaiian knowing reveals a parallel. Both affirm a direct mode of perception beyond discursive reasoning. One framed it as intellectual vision of eternal forms, the other as embodied wisdom in relationship with land and sea. Both treat intuition as natural, not extraordinary. Today, Hawaiian traditions inspire movements to reclaim indigenous knowledge and holistic ways of living. The reminder is that intuition, embodied and relational, is a sense we all carry, one we can practice and remember. Greek nous and Hawaiian knowing converge in reminding us that intuition is not superstition. It is perception. Modern psychology supports this view. Studies of thin slicing show that humans can make accurate judgments in seconds without conscious reasoning. Neuroscience reveals that the brain processes patterns unconsciously long before awareness. Intuition, then, is not irrational, but another form of intelligence. In daily life, this means honoring those moments of direct knowing, the decision that feels true before analysis, the gut sense that guides safely, the flash of insight that resolves a problem. These are not accidents, they are the forgotten sense, still speaking. So we end with questions meant not to close, but to open. What if intuition is not mystical, but a natural human sense? How might your life change if you trusted it as you trust sight or hearing? What would it mean to cultivate Nous, the eye of the soul? What would it mean to live with naʻau knowing, wisdom in the gut? Perhaps the forgotten sense is not lost. Perhaps it waits, in every moment of clarity, every flash of knowing, every gut decision that proves true. The task is not to invent intuition, but to remember it. This is the work of the wisdom explorer. This is the Emerald Codex. The investigation continues. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more.